is still ongoing. If you've not signed up yet, this is a good time to do it and get ready to vote. On the news this hour, Governor Fubara counters criticism, blames political crisis for slow progress in education. Two arrested over attack on RSU students. NEP1 decries inadequate HIV test kits in rural areas in River State. On the foreign scene, Europeans rally around Ukraine as US President Trump envoy heads to Moscow. I'm Sam Chinedu, and the news continues after the break. Back. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says the very bad condition of schools in the state did not start under his government. He said the problem has been there long before he became governor. The governor was reacting after the State House of Assembly described the condition of public primary and secondary schools as very poor and called for quick repairs. Speaking today, Monday, during the 123rd, 124th combined quarterly meeting of the River State Traditional Council in Port Harcourt, Governor Fubara said his government has stayed focused and would have done even more if not for the political crisis in the state.
We did not get to that state in 1 month or 3 months or 1 year. It has been an issue. If you remember, one of the things they used in abusing me when I was campaigning was, what are you people doing? Your government say you want to continue when our school systems are already bad. There is no teacher in Echie. There is no school in Gokana. You all know this story. So if we're talking about being focused, everybody will agree that even in the face of our crisis, we were focused. And if not what happened, we would have even exceeded the miles that we covered.
Governor Fubara also promised that the problems in the education sector will be handled.
But I can assure everyone, most importantly, our traditional rulers, who are closer to these needs of our people. Because in all these local places we're talking about, you are the closest people. You are the one who even provide voluntary teachers. Is it not? We understand that and we appreciate it. And we're assuring you that all those needs will be taken care of.
The state governor also said his administration will employ new staff based on the real needs of the state. He also explained that the 2026 budget will focus on solving many of the problems in the education sector.
Do we have teachers? No. Do we have doctors? They're insufficient. So I'm not going to make employment politically because I want to please everybody. No. Employment will be based on the need of the state. And I assure you, as soon as we conclude the issue of our 2026 budget, but schools are the major areas where we are going in our 2026 budget. And after that, the employment will follow.
Governor Fubara added that since the end of the emergency rule, many investors have started coming into River State again. Meanwhile, security concerns took center stage in Emohua local government area, where the chairman, Dr. Chidi Lloyd, announced the arrest of two suspects linked to the recent attack on River State University students at their off-campus residence. He said this during his visit to the RSU campus today, where he met the school authorities and students to seek long-term solutions. The suspect, he said, will soon be charged to court. And still on RSU, Vice Seb BP says while host communities in Ahoda and Eche have been cooperative, some individuals in Emohua continue to attack students, painting the community in a bad light. Zeb OBP said this today, Monday, at a pre-convocation briefing.
In the case of Emohua, when this thing happened, we reported, in fact, the company council and the entire management moved down to see the traditional ruler of Emohua, held discussions with him, and got promises from him. However, less than a week after, there was another attack. So we come to discover that the attack is a deliberate attempt to give the community a bad name. Some of them whose food stock were stolen, some of them whose phones were stolen, university are provided, some revenue for them.
Professor Zebu PB said the River State University will on December 5 and 6 graduate 13,242 students during its 37th and 38th combined convocation. The VC announced that all 74 programs of the university now have full accreditation from the NUC and relevant professional bodies.
We are graduating a total of 13,242 students at this completion ceremony. Out of our 74 programs, 65 have full accreditation and 9 are resource verified. For this year's accreditation exercise, we presented 15 programs and have all performed very well, given the exit reports by the accreditation panel. Innovative student sponsor account on our portal that now enables parents, guardians, and sponsoring organizations to monitor their children, wards, and beneficiaries.
The RSUVC also listed funding shortages, lack of staff, and deteriorating buildings as major threats to RSU's growth. It said the university has lost many staff members to retirement, death, and job changes since the last recruitment in 2022.
We have deficits of classrooms, staff accommodation, and student hostel. Existing lecture halls and laboratories still need renovation. We are prioritizing phase upgrades based on program needs. The university is short of staff in every area. Since after the last employment exercise in 2022, we have lost a lot of staff to retirement, death, and change of job or place of work, and higher studies. Meanwhile, new programs, departments, and faculties have been created to meet the contemporary needs of the society.
In other news, the MTN M-Pulse Spelling Bee Grand Finale concluded on Saturday, November 29, with 14-year-old Ore Oluwa Alayande of St. Lawrence Metropolitan College, Ekiti, emerging as the champion. Alayande clinched the top prize, receiving a 5 million naira educational grant and the distinguished title of MTN CEO for a day. The competition featured the top 20 young spellers from across the country and was marked by an intense round of spelling challenges and high drama. Speaking at the closing ceremony, Temilolu Salako, Senior Manager, Youth and Teen Segment, MTN Nigeria, praised all participants for their outstanding performances. He also reaffirmed MTN's commitment to youth development and education. The 2025 edition of the MTN M Spelling Bee has once again highlighted academic excellence and continues to serve as a platform for nurturing future leaders and digital innovators. Away from education, the River State House of Assembly says the state needs a modern and comprehensive drainage master plan if it must properly tackle the yearly flooding across the state. The Joint Committee on Environment and Urban Development is also recommending an update of the 1975 Port Harcourt Master Plan to reflect today's urban growth, environmental changes, and population pressure. Committee Chairman Solomon Wami commended the state government for the work already being done, but insist that a better coordinated drainage system is now necessary to guard future development. He adds that new road projects should come with removable drainage slabs so residents can easily clean them during sanitation exercise. The committee is also asking the state government to step up public enlightenment and provide the logistics needed to support flood prevention and environmental management programs. It wants existing concrete canals reinforced and raised to help contain flood water during heavy rains. A correspondent reports that the committee's findings highlights several issues worsening flooding across the state, from illegal sand filling and unapproved construction along waterways to blocked drainages caused by indiscriminate refuse dumping. In Eche local government area, the paramount ruler of Igbo Kingdom, King Dr. S.N. Amechi, says he removed Chief Elijah Okere as the Ochimba of Chokota community over a series of serious allegations. According to the Eche Anti-Land Grabbing Committee, Chief Okere was arrested on October 24 by officers of the Okehi Police Division after several petitions and his alleged refusal to honor the committee's invitations. The committee says Chief Okere is linked to land grabbing, cultism, unlawful possession of firearms, and a crisis that led to the killing of Godwin Egbunefu in Umu Akono, as well as the destruction of homes and properties. But Chief Okere insists he was only suspended and denies all the allegations against him. In the area of Bonijoku, want traditional rulers to take firm action against Chief Okere to preserve the integrity of traditional rulers. Also, the chairman declared one Rejoice Anele, known as Dede, wanted with a 500,000 naira bounty plus a 1 million naira reward for any police officer who arrests him. We'll take a break. When we return. NEP1 decries inadequate HIV test kits in rural areas in River State. Stay tuned. As Joe Keshi says, if justice was working well in Nigeria, and if leaders follow the rules, some people being sent out as ambassadors should actually be in prison. Speaking on Channels Television, Keshi said some of the people nominated as ambassadors do not have the right character for the job and should not be in the diplomatic service at all. He explained that some of these nominees, when they led their state, damage they left behind.
Nobody is against the appointment of non-career ambassadors. But the truth of the matter is that the bulk of the people on the non-career list, it's a bit disturbing. And the second point I made was to appeal to the president. I hear there is another list that will come out. I don't know if it's true. I appeal, beg the president, for goodness sake, for the sake of the officers in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs today, to please ensure that the next list contains no other names but the people from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
But Senior Special Assistant to President Bola Tinubu on Foreign Affairs and Protocol, Demola Oshodi, described the ambassadorial nominees as the best for Tinubu's administration. Oshodi faulted the criticism against names on the list, maintaining that the president had the right to appoint whoever he felt could work with him to move the country forward.
The president has the prerogative to hire whoever he wants based on his own interest and his own relationship with those individuals. So this is, it's basically his prerogative. We can question whoever, however.
And to health stories now, as the world marks World AIDS Day today, the coordinator of the network of people living with HIV in River State, Chigozie Blessing, says some of the major challenges they face is a lack of test kits in some rural communities, which prevent people from knowing their HIV status. Speaking to correspondent Martha Okere during the commemoration of World AIDS Day, Blessing urged the government to provide adequate test kits while calling for a roundtable meeting with government officials to address the needs of people living with HIV/AIDS.
One of the biggest challenges we have is these people are the people that they have a challenge, because if we don't have this drug, how do they sustain their life? How do they live? We are looking at the government to ensure that they do the needful by providing test kits. It's only when people get tested they can be able to live to government. And they
Meanwhile, a traditional birth attendant complained of not receiving HIV test kits for the past 2 months. She spoke to our correspondent.
2 months ago, they said that they get misunderstanding for their working place. So I thank God, and today one of them called me. They are coming back on Wednesday. They come 2 times a month. It's getting to 2 months, they never come.
Responding to the issue, the program manager for the state AIDS Viral Hepatitis and STI Control Program at the Rivers Ministry of Health, Dr. Ufoma Edewo, explained that the ministry has selected traditional birth attendants who have been trained and supported with test kits. She added that the ministry will continue to extend support to more birth attendants, advising those who have not received their kits to report back to their respective local government health teams.
We identified TBS in all the 23 local government areas. Sometime earlier this year, we trained 5-man team in these LGAs to be able to supervise. So yes, we don't have coverage of all the TBS, but we have a significant number of TBS currently in our database that have been trained and supported the test kit. So we'll continue to provide to more that are willing to come about, because sometimes even when we identify them, some of them don't want to do anything if they were receiving. So they should give that feedback to the local government team. They will escalate to us and we'll make sure they get.
Meanwhile, our correspondent hit the street to ask residents how they would react if a partner tested for HIV/AIDS. Their reactions were mixed. Some said they would stay in the relationship, hopeful because of available treatments. Others, however, expressed concern for their own health and the well-being of future children, saying they might choose to end the relationship if faced with such news.
No, health is well. If the person is not healthy, why will I go ahead to marry the person? It's going to be a harm to my child. So why will I want to cause harm to a child that is not yet born?
I can't get married to HIV patients. Reason being because the challenges in future is what is men looking out for. You can't expect somebody to get married to somebody that is HIV positive and bearing a child out of disease and expecting the child to become something reasonable.
I cannot be with that person. Since there's still an opportunity for you to avoid that union, I would advise you avoid it. I cannot do it.
Yes, HIV today is not what it was yesterday. With proper treatment, the person can have an undetectable viral load. That means they can't transmit the virus to their partner.
They have a treatment for HIV right now. If I see a treatment that's legit, I will.
Earlier today, the River State Ministry of Health said it is stepping up community HIV testing to make sure anyone diagnosed is quickly linked to care and supported throughout their treatment. The Commissioner for Health, Dr. Adeze Ore, says the state has expanded its case-finding efforts across all local government areas to boost early detection and timely treatment.
Ending AIDS as a public health threat requires every one of us to play a role. I therefore urge all residents of River State to know your HIV status, support people living with HIV, encourage pregnant women to register early for antenatal care and access prevention of mother-to-child transmission of HIV, PMTCT services, challenge stigma, misinformation, and harmful gender norms that hinder progress. Let us continue to stand together, work together, and sustain our commitment to a healthier, HIV-free River State.
Ore says the government is also widening access to HIV services, now available in more than 115 health facilities across the state. According to her, 234,715 people are currently living with HIV in River State. This year's World AIDS Day theme is Overcoming Disruption, Transforming the AIDS Response. On a spiritual note, following the conclusion of the Christ Compassion to the Rural World Foundation Crusade, themed Port Harcourt, This is Selfless, convener Matthew Ashimolowo says careful strategy, structure, and planning ensured the 6-day event ended without casualties or stampedes. Speaking with journalists, Ashimolowo describes the Port Harcourt Crusade as the toughest compared to similar events in Ikorodu and Ibadan, calling it a faith and risk operation. Because of the large crowd, the lead pastor of Kingsway International Christian Center, KICC, says about 700 surgeries were carried out in various hospitals, including over 200 cataract removals.
I think primarily part of what we learned was the intensity of crowd control. So it meant that when people were coming, there was such ease. The stadium is very big. Many people are, if you had held it in town, we would have had stampede. It would have been impossible every day we did we live. And for us, there's a point in ministry and in life where you are not interested in show, you are interested in impact. Our crusade is about compassion. We should not bring trouble to people's lives. So excuse me to say this is the toughest crusade.
Ashimolowo also hints at future plans to focus the program on persons living with disabilities and advises those hoping to replicate the initiative to prioritize learning the strategy and structure behind it rather than copying it outright.
Vision cannot be copied. Strategy, style, structure should be learned. I was like 60 when I first saw our friends from Ghana do it. And I humbled myself and left London to follow them to villages of Ghana. It was obvious that it requires a structure, a style. So I had to go and study the way they did it. There's one these guys in Ghana do. They have what they call Day of Health. They gather all the disabled in the city. So maybe one day that will come up.
Meanwhile, at Meridian Hospital, over 100 people are confirmed to have regained their sight. Surgeon Dr. Juliet Okafor said this.
These are all churches. They are doing this. At least it will be a long way. We don't have to wait for the government. We'll have other big churches. They're at the same level with Ashimolowo Church. So I appreciate him. God will bless him.
When they say life is difficult for the blind, I actually understood what he meant. I couldn't see. He was just sensitive to light. He could cost over millions. I want to pray that God will bless him, bless his ministry. May his family and himself never know anything called pain, difficulty in Jesus' name.
We actually performed surgical operations, and most of them, basically all of them, some of them had cataract, some of them had encroaching pterygium, which is obviously blinding and made it very difficult for them to see. So we're there to make sure that they get their vision back.
Correspondent Rejoice Amadi reports that more than 10,000 people benefited from the free medical outreach that closed the crusade, receiving glasses, medical checkups, supplements, medication, and other aids. The news continues after the break. Welcome back. On the international scene, European leaders came together today, Monday, to show support for Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. This happened after the US and Ukraine started talking again about a peace plan that first seemed to favor Russia. Zelensky was welcomed warmly by French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris. Both of them then spoke with other European leaders from Britain, Germany, Italy, Poland, and the European Union. On the news this evening, you heard Governor Fubara has countered criticism and blamed political crisis for the slow pace of progress in education. You also heard that 2 suspects have been arrested over the attack on RSU students. We told you NEP1 has decried inadequate HIV test kits in rural areas in River State. On the foreign scene, Europeans rally around Ukraine as US President Trump envoy heads to Moscow. The news was edited by Martha Okere. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Sam Chinedu.